Look at how insane this movement is. Like, the fists are flying in, you see Choso just getting pummeled, and as the fists are coming in, the impacts of it, he tries to retaliate, he gets hit back, and then he goes back in for another blow, and as he's continuously hitting Choso, I love this frame right here, where as he's getting pummeled and all that, up against the wall, you see this man actually take a step forward to showcase he's gaining ground on the man, and that he is in control of this fight. Actually insane usage of art design, animation, and it's just like, dude, I love this. Like, JJK really is back, but it's not just the fight sequences that are just jaw-dropping for this hour-long premiere that we got. It's actually just everything. Like, this scene in particular, this was the opening sequence of today's episode. Technically, it's 2 episodes, but I'm counting them as one singular episode. But this is the opening sequence of today's episode, and there is so much going on here with very few words. Like, you don't even really need any dialogue. It's just the art direction and the sound effects that really carry this sequence. It's a very long, dragged out scene, literally like over a minute long, and I think it's perfect to really just, like, reinforce the events that happened at the end of Season 2. And let's just take a few moments to talk about this, because this is one of my favorite aspects of Jujutsu Kaisen when it comes to just discussing these episodes. It's like what I loved about Season 2 when it came to like the whole Sukuna taking over Yuji's body. And then you had Sukuna release Yuji from his control, or like, Sukuna allowed Yuji to control the body again, and he made Yuji look at the decimation of Shibuya, just everything that happened, all the people that died. He purposely put Yuji in a spot to where he would have the most trauma and most PTSD from what Sukuna did with his own body. And I love this sequence of just continuing that trauma, that the issues that has been building within Yuji for a very long time. Him trying to wash off the blood, and as you can see, he's trying to desperately get rid of it, but it's refusing to go away. And obviously the core theme here, the message, is that Yuji's hands is stained with sin, stained with blood. He is not an innocent man. His body has been used as a vessel to commit unspeakable acts of harm against those that never deserved anything to ever happen to them. And Yuji is aware of this. Thousands upon thousands of people were gone like that. Just decimated. We saw the ramifications of this in Season 2 when Sukuna had his whole fight with Maharaga, and also when he did his domain expansion. An amazing scene, great action sequence, but the implications of that is just massive. And you can see that despite everybody else in the world that's reacting to what Sukuna did, Yuji as well is also reacting to what Sukuna did with his own body, and he is carrying the weight of everything. He truly believes deep down he is responsible for all the loss of life. Everyone that just ended up gone thanks to Sukuna, he feels like he is the one that committed these acts. And you can see that he carries this throughout the entire episode of episode 48 and also of episode 49 when he starts talking to, Megami again and Yuta. He just states that he is responsible, and you can see that he doesn't want to be around people because he feels like he is a dangerous individual, which, to be fair, he kind of is. But we'll get more into that in a moment. But the point, though, is I love just the tone, the way the opening of Season 3 starts off. It is fundamentally a dark sequence to open up your season with. There is no hope, there's no life, it's just more or less just like this darkness, this dread, this tragedy, this negativity that is just beginning with the opening of Season 3. And I love that because it really falls so well in line with the core themes and messaging of Jujutsu Kaisen. And I think that the individual that worked on this, or individuals that worked on this sequence alone, really hats off to them, because I feel like the storyboarding of this really gets the point across of what to expect from Season 3. But with the glazing out of the way, we do need to take a moment just to, glaze it, I guess, more, but talk about other scenes besides that. I really, really love the art direction of Season 3. Now, JJK has always had good art direction. I don't think anyone's really ever argued that. I mean, I think anyone that really talks about Jujutsu Kaisen always comments on the animation and the art, which, to be fair, it looks incredible. And that it makes a lot of sense why that's a big talking point. It's nothing necessarily new. But I gotta say that Season 3, the Culling Game beginning, this art direction with the way the color palette is used, like this scene, like, dude, I love the framing of this, the background art with the foreground, and then seeing, like, Yuta and Yuji here. It's such an incredible looking sequence, and there's scenes like this that just won't even be talked about, because obviously everybody's going to be focusing on this sequence of the episode, getting to see Choso having his fight and all that, seeing what's going to go down, who's going to win, is someone going to die. It's just, this is a really good sequence. I love everything about this dynamic, and this is definitely what's being talked about the most from this episode of JJK, which, to be fair, makes sense, because it's very flashy, it's very JJK, the color palette, everything is just really good. But I feel like scenes like this don't get talked about enough, because obviously everybody's focusing on the action instead of the storytelling that's taking place within the background, the foreground, and other usages of art and music. Like, oh my goodness, there is a scene actually here that I really love, that I feel like not a lot of people will even mention here, but it's right here where Choso walks towards this man, and I love the sound effects. Like, let me see if I get, here it is. I love that. Like, the added effort of just the reflection of Choso here, him walking on the blood, and you see the ripple effects, you hear the sound effects. This is peak anime design. This is where you take your form of media and you amplify it to an entirely different level from, like, the manga. Because, obviously, in the manga of JJK, there is no sound effects, there is no voice acting, there is no music, there is no color. It's just black and white. And obviously, there is a lot of anime adaptations that do the bare minimum. I'm not even trying to attack low-hanging fruit like One Punch Man. There's just a lot of anime that are necessarily just, they're standard, they don't really try, they just color things and do the bare minimum for an anime adaptation. But it's very obvious from the very beginning, from JJK's inception as an anime, there has just been this extra level of detail and approach put into its animation. And stuff like this is just, it goes well beyond just the animation. It goes into the sound effect design, to just getting the shading right with the lighting and everything. There's just so much, and oh my goodness, like, there's actually a sequence too, besides that really stands out to me. Like, let me find it. This scene right here is so freaking good. The way the light shifts around, the ominous white and black here, the shadows going back and forth as the wheels being read out. It is such a good sequence. Like, oh my goodness, like when this man opens the letter here, like here, let me actually get it. Like, he grabs the letter and he opens it up. It just is so realistic and jarring and eerie. Like I said, the art direction for Season 3 is just spectacular. I would have to just straight up say it's better than Season 2 and Season 1. And to be fair, Season 1 and Season 2 look good. Despite the issues with production with Season 2 had, Season 2 looked good. This right here is, like, above and beyond the quality of the previous seasons, for a good reason. I mean, this is kind of getting into the peak of JJK, it's getting into the final stretch of the story, so it makes sense that, you know, they would go all in on everything they possibly can to make JJK better than it ever has been, and ever has looked or sound, and they definitely nailed it completely with this animation and art and everything else accompanied alongside of it. Now let's get into the actual story. I briefly touched up upon, you know, Sukuna and Yuji and him trying to wash away the sins or the blood off his hands, which is not coming off. One of the big driving things about this episode that's building up is that Yuji wants to isolate himself. He doesn't want to be around those that he calls friends or family. He doesn't want to harm them. But also, he wants to keep a distance away from Megumi because he knows that Sukuna is planning something. He even says this twice within episode 48 and episode 49 that Sukuna obviously wants something to do with Megumi. He doesn't know, but he feels like he needs to keep his distance. And it's obvious at this point he's just trying to protect everyone else because he feels like if he is around a lot of people, if there is a sudden outburst from Sukuna, they're all going to die, and he doesn't want that on his hands again. He feels responsible already. He doesn't want more innocents to be lost, and there's just a lot of inner turmoil that you could see just on Yuji's face. Like this sequence right here, oh my god, this is so good. I love this so much. Dude, there is just so much with very few words this sequence right here does, to just the glass in the background stained with blood, to the way it looks like blood is just draining down right here below the stairs, and then you see Choso, you know, he's walking down the stairs, like he comes up and appears beside Yuji here in just a moment, like right there, he walks down. There is just, oh, dude. So much told with so much emotion with no dialogue. I love this, man. I love the show don't tell approach here because it respects the audience, it respects the watcher to understand these themes and messages. And even if they're not the most complex messaging and themes, it's just still nice to see an adaptation respecting you enough to not have to break it down and like just tell it to you directly with dialogue. I appreciate this. Absolutely fantastic art direction, telling a story without dialogue. This is what I like to see in my anime. But, besides this, you have this setup where there is going to be the new head of the Zenin clan, and Megumi has been declared to potentially be the next head. The problem here is that there's people that don't want Megumi to be the next head, so they're trying to get rid of him, but also in turn get rid of Yuji too, since he is sentenced to be executed thanks to, being Sukuna's vessel. And that really more or less is the entire messaging and theme of this episode going into episode 49, which is basically half a fight for majority of the episode. But then we get this reveal, which is really interesting that I guess let's just segue into and talk about. So we can see Jin, Yuji's father, is talking to, Yuji's grandpa, talking about like how Jin's wife is not who she says she is. And you can see that Jin looks just very off. He looks very distraught. Like, I don't know, something's going on with him. Like, he feels like he's just in a daze, not thinking clearly whatsoever. But we get to finally see Yuji's parents, or father in this case, and even mother. But we could see briefly, there is a moment where we see Geto. We see Kinjaku. And I want to point something out that is very important about this segment. Look closely at the scars on the forehead. They're healed. Let's put this in perspective here. Think about Geto for a second. He's been dead for like a year, I believe, in the lore of JJK up to this point within the story. Like a year or so, maybe a little bit longer. But he's been dead for a bit. Geto's body that's been kind of walked around with thanks to Kinjaku, the actual body still has scars and threads holding it on, like where the lining is on the head. It's not healed. But when you look at this, the wound on Yuji's mother, on her head, is healed. This implies that this man was in this body for so long that it was able to heal. It was able to no longer need threads to keep the head in place. This means that Kinjaku was really enjoying those back shots from Papa Jin. Like, really, really enjoying them. Because this man has a new level of, honestly, perversion to go this far. To be Yuji's father, technically. Just very interesting, really diabolical. Very, very diabolical. There is just so many layers to talk about this, but like, it is super funny when you think about it, that this man literally was taking back shots from Jin. And enough time passed to where the head of Yuji's mother healed. Crazy stuff. But with that being said, though, we have the setup for the Culling Games, Megumi meeting, Yuji once again, get a reintroduction to Yuta once again, a bunch of other characters as well from the past setting up to go meet Tengen. There's a lot going on here, honestly, with this beginning, but more or less it's just setting up the present threat, dealing with the Culling Games, and the aftermath of Gojo being sealed. That is more or less what these two episodes are about, but it is a really good start, a really good way to begin JJK Season 3, and I cannot wait to see certain scenes animated, how they're depicted, because if they're doing this well right at the start, imagine what some scenes in the future are going to look like. I can't wait, man. I'll leave it at that, though. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. It does help me out a lot, and I would greatly appreciate it. Chibi out.